It's on.
John, I'd like to call to order the meeting of the Washington City Parks and Recreation Commission. Roll call?
Dan Cassett.
Present.
Bob Zurich.
Present.
Bob Kleppel.
Present.
Kevin Creedy.
Here.
Tessie Steffens. Sparky Stuckenschneider.
Here? Barely.
Jeannie Miller Wood.
Here.
Dave Waymeyer. Betty Werner. Gavin Woolley.
Here.
Al Bear.
Here.
And Jeff Packey.
Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Approval of the minutes from our December 14th meeting.
Unless there are any corrections, I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Gavin, second by Bob Zurich. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Parks and Recreation, Director's Report. Wayne?
Okay. I guess the first topic I'll update you guys on is last meeting in executive session, we spoke about Lafayette Park and the business that was wanting to possibly purchase the park from the city. And we met, administration, myself, so Darren Lamb, John Nilgis, the mayor, met with the garden club, Washington Garden Club that maintains the beds there at Lafayette Plaza Park. And the owners of the alley that's the business that's going in where the Missourian building is and the parking lots surrounding it, is the company that was interested in purchasing the park. And they did a presentation on what their business model and what they're doing and everything like that, and spoke with the garden club. And in the end, I guess a compromise was made. Nothing's been official, but what we discussed was that we would give up around the park, currently around the park, there are 10 asphalt parking spots. And so the
Belong
city,
to the city?
yes,
Okay.
public parking spots. And none really on the street, if I recall right, or not many on the street. But the city's going to give up a portion of that park. I don't know if I'd call it half, but maybe close to half. They would probably get, and nothing's been drawn up yet. I think engineering's going to work on this here in the next couple weeks probably, on drawing something up, a proposal, I guess. But they would get like the grass hill behind where the mini shelter is, kind of that grass hill and the parking spots below it, the public parking spots below it. And then the public parking spots on the, what side would that be? East side. And so what would be left would be the one tree, the pavilion, the bench, the sidewalk, and then the garden. A little bit of grass, but internally we'll have to figure out. I would like not to have to mow that, so we may,
Bigger garden.
yeah, may mulch that eventually, or come up with a different plan for what's left that's currently grass. So that's kind of the compromise. I don't know. I wasn't expecting that from the business owner. So I think it's a good compromise. So we'll be left with something. The garden club will still be able to maintain what they've been maintaining for like 50 years, or nearly 50 years.
And they get to keep their sign there and everything.
Yeah, yeah. And then, like I said, it's a weird, that park is weird. The ground, the dirt is weird because it's like a big mound. You know, what's not really the garden, the rest of it's like a big mound. And there was discussion of, I'm not sure who, but there's talk of a retaining wall on that backside of the park. So the spots that we give up, the grass hill part of it, there would be like a 3-foot retaining wall or block wall of some kind possibly. And so that's kind of where we are with that.
Was there any discussion about the area by the bridge?
Not really, I mean, not really, they weren't, it didn't seem like the garden club was interested in starting new.
Okay. All right. Any, anything else, Wayne?
Oh, yeah, I'll run through these, try to keep them fairly short. The Phoenix Park Playground fence is complete.
Saw it.
Was
Looks good.
completed earlier this week, looks really nice.
It's really
We
good.
got some-
People are really commenting on it too.
Yeah.
Yeah, some site grading to do around it and stuff like that yet, but, yeah, it's in, it's functional, so, looks good. And, yeah, we received a lot of positive comments
Yeah.
on it.
Looks-
At the same time, staff's been over there redoing some of the landscaping beds. I think I mentioned this, I may have mentioned this last meeting, we're trying to reduce our overall maintenance over there, with spraying beds and weeds. Every year I get a lot of complaints that the beds are out of control, because of weeds and things like that. And so we've, just like a lot of the Phoenix Shopping Center over there in the park, there was a lot of randomly placed rocks along the trail. And especially there where you enter from the parking lot, where the bench is and the map sign now and everything like that. There was like, when you drive in the drive, there was like 4 or 5 rocks in between the parking lot and the trail. And so either when we were mowing it or when the contractor's mowing it, it's like you're doing figure 8s between maple trees and rocks all through there. And then there were other rocks along the trail, down below, up top, everywhere. And so we've used a lot of those rocks to get them out of the way to make the landscaping bed up along the 2 tennis courts up there. And we'll be putting in a shortleaf pine trees to kind of, as a windscreen for the tennis courts up there, on 2 of the 4 sides up there. It'll be mulched. Ideally, we shouldn't have to spray it. I mean, maybe spot spray it, but nothing like what we were dealing with in the past. And if you don't recall what that looks like, I have plenty of pictures I could show you from the complaints I've received. However, we did get a complaint yesterday. Someone stopped our guys over there and complimented the one staff member that's generally every day in charge of that park over there. He's very thorough and she appreciates that. But then I got a complaint that we were taking all the rocks that are randomly placed around the trail and using them for the landscaping bed. And they wanted to know if we were putting any more rocks in. I said, well, no, we're taking the rocks out, and doing something useful with them. And I said, because they said, well, people like to sit on them when they walk, and which I can understand that somewhat. But there's also a few benches, not a ton, but there are a few benches over there. I said, well, they could sit on the benches, but I think from what I heard is that some of the people feed birds. They put bird seed on the rocks over there. And so I think
My dog misses the rocks.
I think that's why they were upset.
That is a giant stop and sniff area at each one of those rocks.
So do you really think people are feeding birds off the rocks?
I think so.
Has anyone seen it?
Well,
I thought it was an awfully strange, we're trying to clean up the place and make it look better, and I really thought no one would miss those rocks. I was like, because we're gonna make them into a landscaping bed, but sure enough, I did get a complaint about it, but.
Every dog who walked by would pee on those rocks. So it was like the communal dog place.
Well, there's so many rocks over there, I'm sure they can find a different one.
We got more places for benches.
That's right.
Yes, right, exactly.
yeah. We have to
Oh, really?
design our bench like a
About the
rock.
rocks?
We have to design our benches to,
But we'll be putting benches in, there are a few benches there, but now we'll have, like you said, that was the first thing that came to my mind was we'll have more room for benches, so.
Yeah, but they don't want to put bird seed on.
You never know.
They could.
Kevin's dog might like.
Have options.
Yeah,
Right. That's
all over the bench.
Also, I guess it started January 2nd. The gym floor at the auditorium was redone. We have permanent pickleball line courts in the gym now, 3 painted courts instead of taped on lines. And so no one's used it yet. We're getting ready to open it, I think tomorrow or Friday. It stinks, or it had been stinking in there pretty bad due to the fumes and stuff like that. But we've had the windows open here the last few days to try to air out the place.
Is it cured yet?
Yeah, they said we could get on it on this past Monday, but we stayed off of it, and trying to get it to air out some still. So that'll be good. We'll have 3 permanent pickleball courts in there. Miller Post trail install is moving along. I was up there yesterday and walked. It's pretty muddy, but walked some of the trails. I posted some pictures on Facebook today. And we're doing some other general cleanup up there, trimming trees, fix the railing, the fence around the quarry. But we do have a lot more work to do up there as weather allows. They've been trimming honeysuckle up there also. Tomorrow I have a meeting, Darren, Lamb and I and Chad have a meeting with the Fair Board, members of the Fair Board regarding the Fairgrounds Entertainment Pavilion project that I spoke about last meeting or maybe the meeting before, which would also have permanent covered pickleball courts under it. So the Fair Board approved a contractor for the pavilion portion of that project, and so we're going to meet tomorrow and find out who it is and costs and different things like that. And then the city, Darren and I and Chad and are working on the concrete portion of that project and how we're going to fund that and get that done. So
Potential timeline?
Before the fair.
they want it before the fair, so
This year's fair?
yes.
Yes. Wayne, do we have any input on colors?
That's a good question. I know you mentioned that recently. I hadn't really thought about that. So, yeah, I would think. I mean, it's going to be, I'll have to figure it out, talk to
I mean, I didn't know,
the city administrator. And
if
figure
since it
out.
was gonna be a pavilion, if we wanted maybe the same colors, the ones around the lake, or, and I don't know if you can get that red steel, if they can put a color on it. I'm not sure of that.
Can you do the stone around it? It looks nice.
Yeah, I'll figure out an answer for you and report back.
It would look nice to keep it consistent.
Yeah.
Wayne, I forgot, how high is that pavilion going to be?
I believe
I
12,
think it was
12 feet to the eaves, right?
And
So pretty big.
that's okay with pickleball?
Yeah, it should let a decent amount of light in there, under there,
Okay.
daylight. So that's moving along. The Riverfront Playground is shipping at the end of this month, and so we'll have some work to do. The installer thinks he can install it, weather dependent, in February possibly, so. That's moving along, and then we're trying to figure out, while the river's low, a way to upgrade at least one of the courtesy docks down there. We're working on a plan to do that, and so probably more to come on that. And then finally, I don't really have much to report on the river trash down there. The city, we're trying to wrap our head around this. However, I did pick up a pink bicycle out of the river that was at the end of the courtesy dock, that's dry docked right now. So if that belongs to you, please let me know. But
Is that the one that sat on the dock for a while?
I don't know, was there a
Yeah.
bike that sat on the dock for a while?
Well, I saw one sitting on the dock.
Oh,
There
really?
was, I took a bunch of photos of it. It was kind of cool in the fog.
I was wondering why it was just sitting, I mean, it was
You're
in
not
the
gonna
mud at the end of the dock. I was like, wonder why no
It
one.
was sitting on the dock for a while.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's pretty beat up.
it was like a child's.
Yeah, it was a.
Well, I kept thinking, now who would let their kid bring that bike down there on that dock?
So probably more to come on that in the future.
That's it?
All for Parks Report.
Any other questions?
Oh, I guess one other thing, I noticed the mayor showed up. I spoke a little bit about Lafayette Park, but I don't know if you had anything you wanted to add?
Stuff is still in the works, you guys, Grifey's, place to redesign it. You guys probably know my mom worked on that, so my heartstrings are for preserving it. I understand their need for parking. If we can come to some type of, equitable solution to allow them, a reasonable
Weren't they planning to put a garden on top of their building or something, wasn't it?
I think they are possibly a butterfly garden type thing.
No, I know they didn't. I
But,
meant them,
Yeah,
the developers.
The owners are, I think,
Yeah.
but, the garden club, they
Oh, I
don't-
know.
they don't want
No, I
anything.
knew that would not happen. They're not gonna go up, okay.
Walk up steps and some of those ladies
Yeah, I know.
go down them steps.
Yeah.
July.
Yeah, yeah.
I like that we have a little garden park there. It's so unique to that area of town. So if we, hopefully the city can work something out with them. So we
How many parking spots are we talking about?
Not many, Dan.
Well,
80 max.
There's 10 there now that the city owns, that are, I guess, that border the edge of the park, on the 2 of the 4 sides in that parking lot or whatever. And then, they had proposed, if they took the whole thing out, the whole piece of land, and paved it all, they were gonna get, I don't know, it was hard to tell in that. They had, in that section, and I don't know how big, if that extended a lot further past the park boundaries, what the park boundaries are now, but they had like 24 spaces in there now.
Does that, additional space, if they would take the park, and I don't mean take it, but if they, do they need the park for X number of parking places to meet city code?
Not downtown, I don't think it's.
What I was gonna say, if 10 parking spots make a difference, they're not gonna make it. I mean, I don't wanna be mean, but
I'm just saying, according to city code, their
right.
businesses are required to have X number of parking places, and if that's, part of the deal,
But
that, we,
the way that's zoned downtown, they don't have to have any.
that's right, that did recently
Zero,
change,
so,
didn't it? Thank you.
They don't have to have it for business reasons. I think they were just trying to find a way to, they're including a dog park and
More convenient.
different things there. They were trying to,
Thank you.
move stuff around so that, because I imagine they're giving up parking spots for some of the dog park and things that are behind the building, so they're trying to maximize what they can, I'm sure.
Yep.
I don't know if you guys know it, but US Bank has, just announced that, they are no longer interested in their present facility, and they also own that big empty lot just north of where US Bank and our old post office is. And so that may be part of an overall, where are we gonna park downtown issue? And that was part of the discussion the other night with Greifes, excuse me. Could there possibly be some parking, where that entrance is now to those mailboxes, and there's more parking, right next to Second Street? And they seemed amenable to that, so.
It's a shame that we don't have the geography down there, or real estate down there to build a parking garage. That would,
We're looking at that.
okay.
They're expensive, but
Buying that parking lot would be cheaper.
But you could recoup that by charging, so much to park there because of all the activities and events that we have downtown.
Yeah.
No one's gonna pay that.
That'd be the last place that gets parked.
Yeah.
I think everybody's anxious to see what's the next step. If US Bank wants to sell that, who's going to be interested?
Now, are they abandoning their downtown facility?
I think they are.
Yeah, I was notified they're closing it.
There's no, I was gonna say, they only got about 2 people in there.
It's hard to do business in there. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah.
It's,
Oh, but tell my wife that.
yeah.
She won't give it up.
Well, I get two different reads here this evening a bit. Your read, Wayne, or what I've read from you was, they were much more agreeable, the owners of the alley versus, and, kind of they were very amicable, agreeing to leave the park, and the mayor's, synopsis is that, still a lot of work to be done.
Oh, there
Wait to
is,
see
yeah.
what they come up with, yeah.
Okay.
And they were agreeable. I mean, I think all the people in the garden club walked out of that meeting with, whoa, this is a, you know, this is a good deal. I don't want to box anybody in, so to speak, yeah, but, there were a lot of people that walked out of that meeting happy,
Very good.
Yeah,
both sides.
I would agree. I think the rumor mill was running rampant before the meeting, and I think,
Absolutely.
I really think the garden club thought the city, this was a done deal, and the city was just gonna give the park away, and that was
That's
that.
what I'm not gonna do.
Yeah. So I think the compromise was, I think, a good solution, I think, for both parties.
I mean, if you get revenues from taxes, hey. I just think the 10 spots gonna make that big a difference, though. They're stretching themselves.
10 spots in downtown Washington is pretty many, right? Really and truthfully,
Hey,
that is quite a few. Any other questions regarding that, anybody? Old business, the Memorial Bench Committee?
Yeah, I'm running behind on this. I got a lot of sticks in the fire right now, and right now I'm concentrating on getting projects bid out. And so we did the Phoenix Park fence. I'm working on the medians right now, which council approved about a month ago. Almost got that out the door. I'm hoping later this week, beginning of next week, I can get excuse me. I have some sticks in the fire on this one too. I've been working internally, but I want to get something out, a form of some kind, developed with guidelines, pricing, all that stuff, and present it to the committee and then the park board. I worked with finance. I wasn't sure, because at our last meeting, the discussion was, and after we got out of the meeting, I was like, I'm not really sure if I can do that financially with our financial policy, but I had to work with finance. They wanted me to order like 20, 25 benches to get this thing going. And then I started thinking about the bidding process and how all that's gonna work, but I worked with finance and I got a plan developed there. The only problem is I can't just order the benches. I keep thinking that in my head. I can just, okay, I got that approval, I can do this, I can do that. I can't just order 25 benches because these specific benches come with the engraving, and so we gotta contact the people first to find out if they're willing to pay $2,500 for the bench. If they are, then we gotta wait for them to come up with whatever they want. Some people probably already know, some people will probably have to talk to Grandma or Susie or Billy or Bobby or whatever, figure out what they want on there and then contact us. So, still working on that, but I'll get something out to the committee soon.
Have you contacted any of the potential bench benefactors yet?
Not yet, because I wasn't sure about the whole purchasing thing, and, because once I do, it's gonna be a mass amount, hysteria of calls. And the other thing we found out too, I reached out to the bench company this week, and their pricing goes up again at the end of, well, actually, it may have already went up.
Sure.
Went up yesterday, but they may be able to work with us a little bit this month.
The reason of my question was just wondering, what the reaction was for the new price.
We don't know yet. We're about to find out though.
Okay, I've skipped over communications from the audience. Is
Oh,
there
yeah.
anything, anybody? Mr. Mayor?
We talked about the marijuana tax yet?
no.
Nope.
No, we have not.
Is that coming?
It is not on the agenda anywhere, so you're welcome to talk about it.
I forgot.
We need to apply or do whatever is necessary to get the marijuana tax on the ballot in April so that we can garner 3% tax that the state allows us to tax marijuana sales. This is for recreational use now. This is not the
Medicinal.
medicinal marijuana that's already in town. The same vendor who does the medicinal marijuana is going to be selling recreational legally, and I don't know when that's
26th, does that sound right?
That sounds right, yeah.
I don't know. Anyway, that will be on the ballot and will go before the council. Jeff and Al, I guess you guys know that.
Tuesday.
Yeah, it's Tuesday. And, to get it passed, we're gonna need some support. And, the city has talked about using the lion's share of that 3% fund parks, okay? And also a smaller percentage to give our dispatchers a raise so that we can have the highest dispatchers. Those people are hard to come by. But, I don't think there is support, and I don't feel comfortable saying, okay, 1, 2, 2.5% are going to parks, 1.5, or 1/2 to this or that. I would rather sit here, look you in the eye and say, we will support parks with this marijuana tax. I just don't want to pin the council down to a percentage, okay? My personal feelings, I'm gonna fight for every bit of that the parks needs. Right now, we know that our parks are underfunded. But Jeff and Al and the other councilmen, they may feel differently. So what we're gonna propose is to put it in the budget as a tax and put it into general revenue right now, with the understanding that the majority of that will be used for parks. So I'm asking you tonight to please support that. If you have any questions to us, Jeff and Al, feel free to contribute, but that's the way the city is moving.
By putting that in the general fund, does that, for lack of a better term, free up in case further down the road we want to fund, the Parks and Recreation Department with a designated sales tax? If that would be
We could
feasible.
also do that, Kevin, but, can we get that passed?
Now,
I don't know.
Right.
I'm doing this
You know-
job, and I don't know the sentiment of our voters to do that.
Is there any projection as to, what the 3% may bring in? How much, who's gonna knock on the door and say, I want some pot?
Every $1 million is
I
30.
can partially answer that question.
But
That's a
who knows
lot
how
of,
much the sales
that's a
are
lot
gonna
of
be?
marijuana, I would think.
Well, so Gavin, I can answer that, just not give you an answer, but to the point that we don't know how much it's gonna be. We can't know how much it's gonna be with one vendor. It's not our right to know what their sales are for the entire year, and therefore, it only takes a small calculation to figure out what their sales are, and that's not fair to any private business. So with that in mind, I don't think it's fair to say any number is what we expect to generate, because then we're expecting what they're gonna sell. The other, to just tag on to the mayor's comments there, the reason we don't want to put the wording in the ballot that says 2/3, whatever third is going to go to parks automatically. If we ever decide to change that down the road, it would have to go back to voters to get that to change. So therefore, it was suggested from council that we would say earmarked towards parks. As the mayor says, here to look at you to say we're going to do that. Earmark it for the parks and for dispatchers instead of having it on the ballot.
A handshake agreement.
And I think
Well-
also Gavin, I think we had some discussion after the workshop we were there that, if you're asking for tax now for the parks, if you're going for sales tax later for the parks, they're gonna say, hey, we just approved that for the parks 3 years ago, whatever the time frame was, so I think this is a much fairer way to get information. We can still have that opportunity to go out and get a dedicated sales tax later.
I think in my opinion, and I'm not going to speak for any other council members, I think this is an effort to appease the parks tax, to do without that. Because we think for the longest time, if we pass a parks tax in conjunction with our capital improvement sales tax, that has a sunshine clause on it every 8 years, at some point, we're going to bite our own tongue here. You know what I'm saying? So in my opinion, this is an effort to, as we start selling more marijuana and, you know, those kind of things in the city, this 3% tax going towards parks will hopefully appease that, cover that. Then we can keep our capital improvement sales tax each year. We're good stewards of our money for all the citizens in the city, I guess. So kind of what Al said, we're not trying to tax this, or I'm sorry, what Kevin said, you know, put a tax on this, and then come back to the voters for a parks tax in every 4 years, and then a capital improvement sales. We can't tax them nonstop. So this is an effort to do the best case scenario there. So, but again, just the wording on the ballot is more general as opposed to
Well, it
precise.
has to be that way. Basically, what I heard at the council meeting is that really and truthfully, it needs to be that way. Otherwise, you can't change it. Like you said, it has to be
Correct.
brought to a vote again and put on the ballot again.
And you may find out that the police department's gonna have the biggest headache. They may need the money.
Correct. And
You
then
may
we're-
not get none of it.
And we're
just
able to make that
because-
change, right,
I mean, that's a big difference.
Yeah.
right.
I think that the city's doing it correctly in making it for the general fund, hoping that the majority of it would become, or at least some of
Right.
it, come to the parks.
If you're in it for only parks and not the city in general, then I can see where you may argue that point, that it needs to be designated for parks only. But Sparky, I agree with you, it's done the right, we're doing it the right way, because like Dan said, we may have more problems with the police and it needs to go there.
But-
It's gonna be a council designation.
And
and
way,
every
and
year.
way back when Jim and Brian were still here, we asked about, I think it was a 16th of a cent, trying to figure out if we could get any tax money. And then we were asked not to do that because the highway transportation, all that money, if we needed that to re-up, they're afraid we were gonna make the people, citizens upset about it when we wouldn't get any tax increases.
Correct.
So he said, yeah, okay, we'll go a different route.
Well, and I was there the time when they said, don't ask for it. I remember the meeting, we were in the bottom of the
Yeah.
stage
I
and came in and said,
remember
no,
that
don't do
too.
it. But again, I think this is in an effort to appease that,
I know.
knowing that we are
Same thing.
a shortfall in parks revenue, there's no doubt about that. So in my opinion, I'm not speaking for anyone. I know Darren's been looking for an opportunity like this to fund parks from a different avenue, and I think here's our best case. But again, to keep it off the ballot, we could put it on there that all 3 cents goes to parks. And if we ever decide to change that, we have to go back to another ballot, pay for a ballot, pay for a voting cycle, and change it. So that's why it's not the case.
Absolutely, that's the way to go.
Right.
Well, I like the idea that if some of these funds or monies could come back to the Parks Department, because I'm kind of opposed to doing anything that would raise our sales, our city tax, to our shoppers and our patrons, our citizens here, because of the fact is, we're taking away business, from our local business when we keep on raising the sales tax. So I'd rather see something like you're talking about, funds coming back to the park department that way, but one step at a time.
And the other thing is, if these guys screw up, you can vote them out. I don't mean that mean.
What'd that mean?
I just mean,
Where'd that come
you
from?
have a say, you have a say so, and if you can't trust the people up top, then get rid of them.
I did.
Just the way it is.
Golly,
I think the one thing about sales tax, though, is that better than,
like it is, huh? I mean,
Well, beat around the bush. I mean, those are your avenues.
I mean, that's the truth, too. I mean, if you get a 3 cents dedicated to the parks, they just cut 3% out of the operation budget for
Yeah,
the parks, right? I mean,
And if
they're playing the games anyway, so
everybody's aware of the parks has a shortage of money. So that's not a secret. It's never been a secret. We just try to work around, find ways to do it. And so forth, it's been pretty good. I can't complain.
So Jeff, how many people asked you at American Bloom, what's your parks tax? What kind of percentage are you guys getting to support all of this stuff? You heard it a lot. There's a lot of municipalities that couldn't understand how we were doing this, and, we need to help that out and put a little more in the kitty, and I think this
But
is
it's
the right
also
way to do it.
different looking at it, though, too. Parks is a large line item in our general budget. There's no doubt. So it's not like we just abandon it.
No.
It's just we don't have anything dedicated to it.
The
So,
vast, I don't know about the vast majority, but I would think the majority of the current capital sales tax is earmarked for the parks. You know, the new swimming pool, obviously.
Pool was the largest one.
Brunswick
Right.
Field,
Brunswick Field, you know.
Playgrounds.
Correct, Gavin, you're exactly right. So yeah, that's,
Well, I think something like 56% of the municipal parks in Missouri are funded by sales tax. I'm pretty sure of that number. And it's a high number,
Nationally, I think it's like 60,
60% national,
nationally, yeah.
yeah.
but I go back to that line again, it's a very large item in our general budget.
It is.
So be careful what we wish for. If we get a parks tax and we exclude you from the line item in the general budget, it may be less. So don't, you know, that's, in some way you look at it, just be careful what you wish for and thinking that this is not the right way.
Well, that's very true. You have to know ahead of time what the potential is from a sales tax dedicated to the parks. You have to know that ahead of time.
Right.
Before you even talk about putting it on a ballot.
If you came back to me in July and said, we need, you know, Wayne's getting too many things cut out of the parks budget, we gotta have more, that would be a different story here, that we're not earmarking enough for the parks. But from my point of view, in my 10 years being here, that's always that, I don't, when I go through that, comb through the budget every year, I purposely don't cut things on the parks for that reason, because I know it needs to stay. You know, in my opinion, the street department can do without a truck for another year, you know, we can push things down the line, but try not to push that out of parks. Those are the things that don't get seen on the forefront, but in my opinion, the budget is favored to the parks every year for that reason, because we know you need it, so.
One thing that will help, I think everyone in this room is I think it's next year in 2024, I have budgeted money for a park master plan, and Darren Lamb and I have been talking about this for a while, and so it's been budgeted for a couple of years, but the money's there in '24, and so and some of you guys participated in the comp plan study at the auditorium recently, and so we'll do a park master plan. There'll be a lot of sessions like that, planning sessions and input from the public. But what I'm trying to say is that company, whoever we hire, will be able to tell us pretty definitely, do you need a parks tax? Should you have one? How could you accomplish one? No, you're pretty much set with how you budget your money now. You know, they'll be able to go through that and come up with a plan, or at least a document to show city council and the mayor and say, yeah, you know, yes, you need one, no, you don't, or these are the things you need to improve, or you have enough staff, or you don't have enough staff for the number of parks you have, or the amount of acreage you have. So it'll be good. I think it'll be a good experience for the department and for this board.
Any other discussions from the audience? Okay, we'll go back to old business, the Mike and Eileen Sapp Hall of Fame recognition.
Skipping the memorial bench?
No, I went over that.
No, we talked about it.
Okay.
Yeah, I did that
I'm
ahead of the
slacking is basically
communication.
what
I
it
went
is.
back to, okay, yeah, that's all right.
But yes, the Hall of Fame recognition, this board recommended that this recognition happen, and so it was taken to council. Council, I believe, made a recommendation, right? Get all these meetings confused.
Yes.
Okay, and so we're set to do it on February 6th. They'll be recognized. There'll be a plaque. The plaque's been ordered. We'll put it up on the wall out there. This is just on here, if you guys would like to attend, because I think one of these, when I first started, I forgot to invite you guys, so I'm making sure I do this now. So if you would like to attend, be here on February 6th, probably around 6 o'clock, 6 or 7 o'clock. I don't know if they do it in a workshop, or I can't remember if they do it.
It'll be in the regular meeting.
Regular meeting, okay. So 7 o'clock.
Okay, thank you. New business, skate park renovation phase 1.
Yes, so the phase 1 of the skate park renovation is the concrete, so demoing of the current asphalt, the 6 tennis courts of asphalt, and the old fence by city staff. And then we're bidding out new concrete and fence. It'll be a smaller footprint than what's there now, because there's 6 tennis courts, and a lot of that space is not used. It's out to bid. Bids are due tomorrow at 2 o'clock, and so we'll hopefully have a contractor in this winter that we'll be able to pour that concrete. And then phase two is we're kind of waiting to see how much money's left from phase one. Because the budget for the entire, everything we wanted to do over there is $150,000. Concrete just went up January 1st, so I don't really know exactly how this is gonna come in. But we're hoping there's some money left for some cosmetic improvements to the pavilion, and the restroom building over there, including, partitions in the bathroom over there, which are the old pool, partitions. So we're kind of recycling a little bit. And a water fountain, and a little bit of new sidewalk, so, a little sidewalk that goes up to the basketball court, so.
Phase one is adding the fence, a new fence,
The fence and the concrete,
not height, what height on that fence?
6 feet.
6? Okay.
Yep.
Anything else? Any questions about the skate park?
Is the concrete that's there, that's the skating ramps, is that coming out?
No,
That's staying?
that stays, yeah.
Just the
All the
asphalt
old-
area.
It's coming out?
Yeah,
We
it's,
never finished that from the very beginning.
it's all crumbling. There's some gaps, I'm surprised we haven't gotten some complaint. I mean, there's gaps in the asphalt like that wide where, you know, if you're skateboarding, that's kind of hard to skate on.
So we're just pouring a flat concrete slab where the asphalt is now?
Yes, but it'll be a smaller footprint.
Okay.
So it won't be as large.
Pretty wide.
Right.
Yeah, it's, towards
We're
the,
not, we're not pouring any ramps and?
no, 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 no.
That's-
It's all flat work.
All right, thanks.
East-West Rotary Riverfront Trail Connection Grant.
So you may recall, we didn't get the grant that I applied for last year. And a couple of things, they wanted some more detail on the actual trail construction, and I'm not, Cochrane is helping me with this. And so we're contacting the state to find out what exactly they're wanting there. But then, one of the other things they said is they'd like to see a little more public input. And so I'm working on that. I'm working on a plan with Cochrane. I got to talk to administration on how to accomplish this. But what I need from you all, and I can go over this briefly with you again, is a recommendation just to move forward to apply for the grant. But real quick, we'll go over this again. And so what we're trying to accomplish here is a couple things. One, trying to connect the, I gotta remember how this works here now first. See a red dot? What the heck? Oh, would help if I turned it on. No. Anyways, trying to connect the east and west trail. In that Waterworks parking lot there, if you recall, when you pull in there, or if you're pulling out, you go down an incline to pull out to get to Lafayette Street there. That would be redone and make it ADA accessible, so it'd be less of a grade there. We did have someone, I think it was right before COVID, a lady on a bike was approaching there trying to stop because of the street there, and there's no dedicated crossing there right now. And when she was trying to stop, she wound up flipping over her bike because she couldn't stop because of the grade, and she didn't want to go out in the street, and she got pretty skinned up and contacted us. Not that she was upset or trying to sue the city or anything like that, just kind of let me know what happened. I was real thankful because I was able to save the email, and even she sent me some pictures of how banged up she was to include with the grant to kind of prove that there is this, this would help improve or correct a safety issue there. And then it would run to the east of the Flag Plaza and then over in front of the large pavilion and then down that hillside and then connect with the east trail there. And so what this hasn't been updated yet. What it doesn't show is where the new playground will be. And then also included in this is restroom renovations. You can see towards the bottom of the screen. It would keep our existing building there, but add like a wing on that would be open throughout the year. At least one bathroom would be open throughout the year, because that is a complaint that we get.
That's a need.
Yeah. And then there would be, coming off of the trail, a sidewalk that kind of runs straight into the bathroom over there to get you from the connection to the restroom. And then there would be some shore up work along the hillside where the trail in front of the pavilion, where the trail and the, between the hillside, the trail and the pavilion, that we would have to do to keep people kind of from driving off there and just keep the hill from washing away. And then they would redo the steps going down to the parking lot. And then you guys had mentioned at one time, I think last year when I showed this to you, the old, at the bottom of the screen there, what is the current, to get from Waterworks to the trail, that section of concrete. Someone asked if that would go away, and I guess that would be a possibility. The other thing that this connection does, it allows us to get city trucks when there's a flood to the pump station, because when the river comes up, that lot's closed off, and right now the only access they have is driving in front of Waterworks building, which is now a business. And so you have people coming out that door that could possibly be hit by a truck. It gets all the traffic, any potential traffic away from that building and out to the edge of the park there, and then the connection to the trail. But it would really help the city. We would be able to get trucks in and out through there and not have to drive through the middle of the park to get to where we need to go. So I guess, is there any questions, any new questions?
Wayne, right there where the trail comes out there, it crosses the street there, and you have the caution stripes there. Is there any signage around there to warn people?
Yeah, we would put in typical trail signage, whatever we needed, similar to what is on the Greenway right now, the new Bush Creek Greenway.
You know, one of those little, I don't know if it's possible or not, but sometimes I've seen other areas where they have like a little flashing light that kind of directs people's attention to look there and see if people are, you know, walking or whatever. I don't know. It runs by solar anyway, so it's no big cost. But it might just alert somebody that's looking around like this, or wait a minute, you know, there might be some people here. You know.
And so the grant is due, we have a courtesy review at the end of this month, and then the actual grant is due, I think it's February 14th.
Have to remove any trees, you're gonna go in between them over here like that, or? Do you know?
Probably not, I'm not sure if this is and now that you say that, I'm not sure that this is the most up-to-date map that you're looking at, because I thought I had it, instead of a big curve like that, I thought I had it like a straight shot into the trail there to avoid those trees. So I need to double check this.
I say we avoid the trees or go in between those.
Yeah.
That's a nice row of trees there.
Yeah, I think they're cypress trees or white pines, one of the two.
I would hate to have to remove a tree. Call me a tree hugger.
So I would like to get some workshops. I have to figure this out yet, because I think this is one of the things they dinged us on, is to get some public input. So a workshop possibly
Didn't curve it that way, you would bring it.
kind of straight, and then have like an apron, like a Y-shaped triangular apron where the trucks could not cut the corner. You could either go left or right onto the trail.
You're still gonna have the connection to the lower parking lot, right? Or are you taking that out?
Oh, what would be a little strip there? Yeah, that would stay.
Is that going to be asphalt or concrete?
Concrete.
Concrete.
That way we can get the big trucks on it and everything.
Is the width of that path going to be the same width as all the rest of the trail?
East Trail's 10 feet, the west trail is 12 feet. This is 10 feet, I believe.
Very good. So you would like to have a motion or just a recommendation?
Recommendation to apply for the grant.
Okay,
Make that recommendation.
I'll second it.
so we have a motion by Bob, second by Dan. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Rental facility fee review.
Yes, this is one of the other areas. So right before Christmas, staff and I sat down and looked at all our different fees that we have. A lot of them that were revised in 2019. We looked at them, so we've been operating with these fees for 3+ years now. And we've found a few facilities, we think that it's related to the fees, that aren't being rented now as much as they were. Could be, I think it's fees, it could be, some of COVID stuff too, but we want to take a look. We've done a little bit of research, and staff has made some suggestions to me on pricing, and then I will get them compiled into a document and share with the, with this group. There's a fee committee, I believe, if I remember correctly, and then present it to Park Board, and then we can, if everyone agrees, we can get them changed and see if we can get some more rentals in the different park facilities.
Very good. Naming of the lake pavilions, number 1.
So this is, I've seen this done elsewhere. And so we have the 3 nice pavilions out there, and they're all right next to each other, basically. And all we have is Lake Pavilion 1, 2, and 3. And so if you're not very familiar with them, or if you don't walk the lake every day, you don't really know which one is 1 and which one is 3.
I walk the lake every day and I don't know.
Is there a way that they can make one
I
like
got some numbers.
west, one north?
Well, they have numbers on the little box where it says if it's rented or not, but they're hard to see. But a number is a way to do it, but I didn't know if there's any thought to naming them.
Can't you have something like northwest or southwest or whatever in addition to the number? That way they can,
Yeah, I mean, I didn't really have any ideas per se. I guess that's one way of doing it.
I would just get a number, put a number on it, but put a nice sized number.
Yeah, a big number.
Where, because you have to walk way up to them, all of them.
Yeah. Yeah,
Did you have names in mind?
no, I didn't. I've seen it done else, they'll come up with like a fancy name, like something like,
Well,
maybe,
the
like
other-
lake themed, I don't know, but I can't think of anything off the top of my head, but,
The only other reason I say that is because something may come up later,
yeah, where you,
or,
Like if we want
because
to
it always does come up.
put your name on one?
No, that is not gonna happen,
Like the Lions or something like that?
Yeah.
no.
okay. Yeah, staff, I ran it by staff. They didn't have any grand names either, and I didn't either, so I just thought I would run it by you guys and see.
Didn't, the old ones, didn't they have a lion's emblem on them?
They did, and I haven't heard from him in a while, but Ron Williams is working with SOM, and they're supposed to be, I think they've purchased the actual emblems, but they're wanting something welded and constructed to put up in the eave, so it looks real nice, and I think they're waiting on that portion of it.
Does that go on every single one then, or?
And I don't know if that gives them.
Yeah,
the
all
right,
3 of them.
Okay.
the naming rights for anything, but, if they do that, then what are they gonna say if you got, say
Well,
Alice
that's true,
Pavilion
yeah.
and Package Pavilion and,
Yeah, I hadn't really thought of that. Yeah, I probably do have a point there too. So, yeah, I mean, since no one has any great ideas, we'll just go back to 1, 2, and 3 and try to get it prominently placed on there somewhere so people, maybe over the next 30 years, will figure, by the time we have to replace them again, they'll have them down where they
well,
are.
or, we got the money for the
geese,
the rock.
geese
the bottom.
pavilion,
Somebody may
goose
come up with something
pavilion,
and say, hey,
the duck pavilion.
there's some money, and then you may want to say, well, we want
I guess,
to. And
we
money's-
never had them named before. There was 3
Yeah, I
pavilions
wasn't
there
thinking like a
before,
big
so-
sign or anything, just something that might stick in someone's head,
Well, the
Evan
only
and
one
I
that really
got
had a
the
name
idea.
was the High Pavilion.
You have this.
We're not naming them that.
We got the ideas, yeah. The goose, the duck, and the fish.
So,
Still not
okay.
gonna indicate where they are. So
Okay.
still gonna have to look at the sign. to see
All
where
right,
they are.
so
I think a number would be easier.
Gavin, the
Yeah.
only one with the name's not there.
So what now?
The only one with the name is not there, the High Pavilion.
Yeah.
And with the new marijuana tax.
That would have a new,
Back with the high pavilion.
that would have a new meaning.
A little green for green there.
Yeah.
That wasn't because of elevation.
Oh, well, I was. Some people may have been elevated though.
Yeah, that's
So-
true.
So was that any help, Wayne?
Yeah, we'll just stick with the numbers, yeah, we'll stick with the numbers. So just so you know, 1 is off of Grand, and then 2 is by Sand Volleyball, and 3 is across from the amphitheater.
Yeah, okay.
I think that's the easiest, because if you start going northwest, south, people aren't gonna know.
People, yeah, don't even, you know,
Keep it simple.
The only reason I say is just because if somebody from out of town really doesn't know the area well, and they said, we'd like to rent a facility, and I wasn't sure what number it was, but I can tell you where it was located, and it would help us maybe to,
I mean, you can call
The
in,
numbers are now gonna be big enough,
I
they're
think-
south at.
Yeah, and that's basically what Dan is saying, that make, put big numbers on there,
Gold leaf.
yeah. Anything else, any other questions about that? No executive session? Anybody have anything they want to bring up? Our next meeting is February the 8th. A motion to adjourn?
I make a motion.
A motion by Bob Zirk and second by Jeannie. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? So be it.
With all that drug money we got, we could gold leaf it, I'm telling you.